with an online...
Crank it up, let it roll. Stars and stripes in my soul. Steel toes on, boots in the gravel. Heartland truth on every channel. Open Bible, flag on the wall. We say what we believe or we don't talk it off. This is red, white, and raise hell. Cowboy hat, church bell can't scare us into silence. We were born to rebel from the back road to the beltway. We won't fade, we won't fail. Proud, loud, standing tall. Red, white, and raise hell. We back the bad, we guard the border. We love our guns and law and order. They try to shame every word we say, but we don't bow down, we just press play. This is red, white, and raise hell. Cowboy hat, church bell can't scare us into silence. We were born to rebel from the back road to the bell. Hey, we won't fade, we won't fail. Proud, loud, standing tall. Red, white, and raise hell. You can cancel the show, but not the crowd. We're still here, still talking loud. Hand of the free on every spell. Hit that mic, host, let the truth ring out. This is red, white, and raised hell. Cowboy hat, church bell can't scare us into silence. We were born to rail from the back road to the beltway. We won't fade, we won't fail. Proud, loud, standing tall. Red, white, and raised hell.
All right. Good morning, everybody. Welcome in to Strictly Speaking Unfiltered on a Monday. It is the fourth morning, despite what the graphic says. Damn AI. We throw a little graphic together to promote the show, to promote the two great guests that I have on there, and I say Monday's show, and it takes it upon it. This is why we can't trust the machines. Just saying, this is why we cannot trust the machines. It takes it upon itself to say what day what the date of the month is. Last night, my little input to the graphic that I wanted, I put the pictures of Josh. Let me throw it up again real quick. Where'd it go? It appears to be gone. Hold on a second. We'll find it. I'm going to put it back up again because I just did this last night. And it's a bear sometimes trying to get AI to do what you want it to do. But let's see here. Let me pop this up here. Yeah, so I gave it... I said the top story is going to be the tensions rising and that the ceasefire is in jeopardy because of President Trump and his Operation Freedom to free some of the boats, the ships that are stuck in the Strait of Hormuz, and then Iran's warning against them, against Trump to not do that and that sort of thing. So I said, tell it that. That's my top story. And it nicely threw the little graphics up behind it. You see the Islamic Republic sign behind it, and the boats and the Strait of Hormuz. That's not bad. And then I said the second story was I've got two great guests coming up, both of them candidates for Congress in two different districts. Josh Williams in Ohio 9, and I put a picture of Josh in there, and I said Care Coleman in Ohio 13. I put that up there, and I said promote those guests. Said the live show is Monday, 7 to 9 a.m. on all those channels that you can see there, right? Oh, it missed one. It didn't have X. So there's another mistake it made. So I just said on Monday's show. because I made the mistake in the past, and I've told it to put up, hey, promote tomorrow's show, create a graphic promoting tomorrow's show, and then it'll say on there, it'll say tomorrow, which is kind of annoying. So I have to tell it Monday. So it took it upon itself to say Monday, May 5th, which again is why we can't trust the machines. That and the fact that they'll become self-aware one day and try to kill us all, Terminator style. But two mistakes it made, basically, because prior to its May 5th mistake, it also had the picture of me on the side there. It had Care Coleman there, and it said my name, Bob France, as if Care Coleman was Bob France. And then it also had Care Coleman over here, where he's Care Coleman. So yeah, AI can do some wonderful things, but it cannot do everything, and it cannot get it right all of the time. That is for sure. So I don't know. You know, I rely on it, and I've talked about this in some depth over the weeks now as we move into the 5th month of the year. So it's the 5th month of our show. Yeah, I have discussed this somewhat. How much do you use AI, and how much do you trust AI to get things right? I use it for these images, these graphics all the time, and I trust it, and maybe I shouldn't, as it would just pointed out. I try not to use it for anything else because I've seen too many people get burned by it. And I don't know. It's just a query. In fact, let me get into the comments here and welcome the chatters. Not the comments, but I should say get into the live chat here, because we got some good folks who are up here each and every morning. Haven't looked in there yet, even in the prep for the show this morning. So let's see who and what we have going on on the live stream. On the chat, live chat, I guess I should say. So some of the usual suspects: Casey, John, B. Morgan, Sally, and DB Jones, and CAD, and Sherry. I see Sherry, Christine, I should say before. Johnny, Rosebud, Lindy, hockey player Mike. Who else is up and at it? Roz is there. Care Good, Marty, Meg Marie. Good crowd. Yo Jimbo, Charlie, other Charlie, RH Ron. Victor, SRL, you guys are great. Big Jake is up and at it. Joanne. So good stuff from all you guys. Trainer Doug. Hey, Trainer Doug from Emilia. Good to see you, bud. I got a lot of love for my Emilia folk. So seriously, you guys kick it around a little bit, and I'll check back into the chat in a bit about AI. Because again, you just can't. This is a minor thing, the fact that it got the date wrong and a couple of other stupid things, but it's a big deal. I mean, do you trust AI to do things for you, and how much do you trust it? I've come to realize you can't trust it very much at all. It's a dangerous thing we get into when you put all of the trust into the machines. You know what I watched yesterday? This is an aside. This is not part of the main topic today, obviously. But I was, I wasn't watching it. I was listening to it while I was mowing the lawn. I was listening to two shows, actually. I was listening to Matt Walsh. I was listening to Ben Shapiro, and I'm trying to remember which one because they lumped together a little bit. I believe maybe it was Shapiro. But they were talking. No, I think it was Matt Walsh, actually. They were talking about the Claude AI. Do you know what the Claude AI is? Because you probably know about ChatGPT. It's the most famous one because OpenAI. So when they created that, it's kind of like almost the OG, if you will, of the recent AI craze or AI generation or era or whatever. But Claude is something that is being. It's what is it? There's ChatGPT, and then there's Elon's AI, which is Grok, and then there's a handful of them, but one of them is called Claude. And it is something that is being engineered by, and he played some of the audio clips of the CEO, a woman whose name escapes me, whose mission it was not only to create AI Claude and it's apparently partnering or it's being used in some way, shape, or form by military. It's very bizarre. I'd never heard of this story before, and I'm going to have to dig into it a little bit more depth when I can do more than just listen to it while I'm mowing the lawn. I didn't happen to take notes on it or anything, but I'm going to have to do that in the future here. But she was talking about teaching it to not only be able to compute and spit back answers, to queries, but to reason, to interpret tone from the user, and ultimately, she said it's her life's goal to give Claude, are you ready for this? A soul, like literally playing God. I'm going to create a mechanical being, a bot, if you will, and I'm going to teach you to reason, which is something that only sentient human beings can do. And I'm going to teach it to interpret tone, and I'm going to give it a soul. Literally, like playing God is what that sounds like. It's a bizarre concept. So the rise of AI is a dangerous thing. And when you hear things like that, to me, it just gets even more dangerous. It's just really quite alarming when you think about it. But there it is. So I don't know. I'm just kind of curious, like where you are in the AI train. I mean, because it left the station and it is steaming down the tracks. There's no stopping it. And of course, the continuing advent of AI, whether it be in pics or graphics like I make for the beginning of the show every day, or for promotional things, it's going to require, of course, all of that data being stored somewhere. And this is where we get into the data center controversy here in the state of Ohio, because obviously there's a huge fight amongst even conservatives. Some conservatives say, bring them and bring the jobs that they come with. There's no stopping it. Might as well use it here. Others saying, no, it's too damaging to our environment. It's taking up too much green space. They're going to take up too much electricity. It's going to raise the cost of our energy. We don't want the data centers here. So, there's a lot of grist for the mill there. And I'm going to have to do a whole separate show, I think. And you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to do it for my insiders. I'm going to have just a special show for insiders. I'm going to get a couple of AI guests, and we're going to do kind of like a little behind the scenes dig into what makes AI tick and where it's headed. I don't think there's any way to slow it down. I don't. It's just a matter of, can we manage it properly, I guess. Sorry. That's just a riff. Like I said, I wasn't planning on talking about this. Quick glance into the chat since I just asked that question. Let's see. Sad that even if we don't trust it, we will use it almost every day without knowing, says Johnny B. Talking about, oh, there we go. Look at that. Oh, I like the logo there. Old school MMS logo there with the buzzard. Cleveland rocks. That's cool. What's Charlie say here? Charlie says Perplexity has replaced Google search. Somebody's talking about gas prices, which I'll get into in a moment, by the way. That's Lindy. Victor Sim loves Matt Walsh. I do too. Matt's a brilliant, brilliant conservative thinker. And he does some deep, deep research that I really, really appreciate, and presents it as well as anybody. And if you haven't seen his movies, like, What is a Woman and Am I Racist? You got to do that. So yeah, huge asset to our side. Good morning, John. Look at that. An actual photograph of Judy. Judy, and I've known Judy for many, 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 many years. And I just like that. Nobody wants to put their own pictures up there. They're in their little bio photos. What does Sherry have up there? Sherry's got herself up there. This is like Romper Room with Mr. France. I like that, you guys. Just to say, I would love to be able to put names with faces. I would. If you can throw that up there in your little profile photo, like Sherry and Judy, that would be awesome. I just love that. I love to be able to see that. All right, where am I going here? Okay. Still keep Seth. Yeah. I'll talk about Seth too in a few minutes. I don't use AI, but I noticed it was mentioned in a clevelander.com article last week as a contributor. No more human resource. Yeah, I have seen that too. I think it's a requirement that if their writers aren't writing all of their material, they have to disclose that AI was used partially or fully in writing the articles. So, I mean, they do use some human resources, but yeah, they're reliant upon AI more and more and more, which is one of the reasons for the question, I guess. Sally says, I do not trust AI, and I mourn the loss of privacy in our society. Amen, Sally, especially on that last part. Amen. Privacy. Human research. Okay, instead of human resources, human research is what she meant to say. I use Google search. It gives AI-like results, and no, I don't trust it. Maybe it is AI. Lisa, you cannot trust it. You have to triple check what it generates. Absolutely. It didn't even know today was May 4th. I said just tomorrow. I said Monday, and it put up May 5th, and it didn't know. And then it had a picture of Care Coleman with my name on it. No, that's not me. That's Care Coleman. I had to go back and fix it and make it do that 2 or 3 times. Claude is a highly intelligent AI platform. Yeah, that's kind of what I was saying. I mean, I know of it. I didn't know what it was being used for, though, until I listened to Matt Walsh while I was doing the lawn yesterday. I was Googling all about the Roman Empire, and this pops up. Were Romans racist? The woke rewrite was ridiculous, claiming Romans were equal society, had slaves. I'm to believe that was volunteer. Suppose that was supposed to say voluntary. Interesting. Can they find one for Jimmy Kimmel? That was AI trash. Okay, what else do we have here? What happened to Seth? I'll tell you about Seth in a moment for those who do not know. War between Matt Walsh and Candace Owens has been intense. Not just Matt Walsh, but Matt Walsh and Ben Shapiro along against Candace Owens, because what she continues to do to Erica Kirk, and Erica Kirk finally fought back against that piece of trash, that human flotsam and jetsam, disgusting pile of mold crap that is Candace Owens. Yeah, that war is intense, and it should be. Raymond Arroyo of the World Over on EWTN Radio is a true patriot, pro-Trump guest, and arguments on a show this week about the Pope Leo controversy. Raymond was this keynote speaker at Babel, BABL, a couple of years ago, which I've emceed now for the last several years. It was really, really good. He did a phenomenal job of entertaining and informing and educating. That was a great one. All right, so super quick, I'm going to get into the main news stories here before we do interviews at the top of the second hour. To our friend Seth, who is still stuck working for the radio station. Seth had a setback of sorts, for those who don't know. As you know, Seth stepped on a nail about 3 years ago, and it led to an infection that led to sepsis, that led to him losing his leg. That's bad enough right there. We could just stop and say, gosh, that's awful. He had to have his leg amputated. Well, this past week, he started to experience some serious pain in his other foot, his existing foot. He went into a sort of delirium in the middle of the night, around 2 a.m., was shaking, did not recognize his wife. They rushed him to the hospital in an ambulance. I believe it was last Tuesday. Then by Friday, they had amputated his other leg. That leg became so infected because of a foot. I don't want to get too personal in Seth's situation. I think everybody just knows that. But I was messaging with him, and he told me he had a foot ulcer. Actually, I talked to him when he told me about the foot ulcer and described it and how they did an emergency surgery to try to kill the infection and clean that out there at the site. There was a chance at that point in time that he could recover from it. But then after a couple more days of tests, it became pretty clear that if they didn't do what they had to do here, that he might not survive, because that infection was climbing up that leg and presumably to organs where it could have literally taken his life. So they made the impossibly difficult decision to amputate that leg, and on Friday, that surgery took place. The reason for the prayers are obvious, but here's another reason for prayers. Today is the second surgery in which they have to mold the remaining portion of his leg to fit another prosthetic. So he's going to have 2 prosthetic legs. I talked to him and texted with him several times over the course of the last 3-4 days. And I can tell you that shockingly, he's in what I would just call the best spirits that somebody in his circumstance can be in. You know what I mean? He wasn't wallowing in self-pity, at least in the times that I spoke with him and messaged with him. He was talking about how boring it is in the hospital and got some advice from some mutual friends to watch hockey on TV in there. And he, you know, I think he knows he's grateful to be alive, and thanks to his wife, because his wife found him the first time when he was unconscious on his kitchen floor after that sepsis. Um, after he went septic, I guess is the best way to say that. And then she came in and found him again. You know, well, I guess it wasn't quite 2 o'clock in the morning yet because he had gone to bed early, and she heard some noises from the bedroom that disturbed her super loud television, and she went in to find him. He eventually was taken at 2 o'clock in the morning by ambulance, is what it was. But it was a little earlier than that because she wasn't in bed yet. But she came in and basically, for the second time, saved his life. And I think he realizes that, and he's grateful for that, quite obviously. And he's gotten an inspirational phone call from Travis Mills, and the Travis Mills Foundation. Travis Mills, the uh, one of the a small handful, I think, of quadruple amputees still living in the United States. When he put his pack down on what turned out to be an IED, a roadside bomb, and it blew him up. He lost both legs, all of one arm, and a portion of the other arm. He was a four-limb amputee, and he is just an incredibly uh, inspirational spokesperson for those, not just in that condition, but other traumatic conditions, whether it be due to war, first responders, these kinds of things. But anyway, Travis, has been living without limbs now for several years, and he called Seth. Yeah, there's Travis. Thanks, Dylan. He called Seth and talked to him about the journey in front of him, but how it's going to be okay, and you're going to be able to, to find yourself able to do things you never thought you could do. Even in the aftermath of all of this. And, if Travis can make it with 4 prosthetics, Seth can do it with 2. He can. But yet, this is still a journey. This is still a huge thing, obviously. And I know he and Heather and everyone will appreciate your prayers and your support in any way that you can do it. And it looks like we've got a troll in the room, so we're going to have to spike this person out of there. Give me just a second, and I'll do my best to get it. I don't know why people feel the need to just come in and do this kind of stupid crap, but what are you going to do? We'll get them out of there as soon as I can here. I'm going to do this like literally right now before I move on to talk about the other news of the day, because we have a lot of really important things that I don't want to be distracted by trolls. So there. All right. Sorry, everybody. We're just kind of dealing with this as we go. I still haven't figured out a way to get delete this message. Not just that message. I'm trying to delete the troll completely. All right. It's kind of weird. There it is. Mute this user forever. Okay, now he's gone. I think he's gone. Okay. Look at that. Look at Just Jan. Look at Jan in the chat this morning expressing concern for the actual troll, saying that this individual needs prayer. You know what? I love that. I love that about you and all of us. Seriously, that's there's somebody who literally has no direction in life, and you read some of the disgusting, horrific things that this person is writing on here, and just completely trying to destroy the chat. And the first response isn't to be, combative, but you just say, this person needs prayer. Can you please remove them from the chat? And yeah, I did. So there you go. So that's the story here. And I apologize for the interruption and the intrusion here, but yeah, give Seth as much of a load of prayers for him as you possibly can. I know he'll appreciate it. Big Jake says, I had a leg infection about 2 years ago. I could drive myself to the ER. Doc said I would not be here if I had not come to the ER. Massive dose of antibiotics, and I am fine. They tried the antibiotics on Seth too. And it just, they said if they had sent him home with just the antibiotics, he wouldn't have survived past this weekend, is basically why they had to make the decision that they made. I hate to, frame it the way that it is, but that's literally what the story was, according to what Seth told me. So yeah, say prayers for our friend. That's all we can do at this particular point in time. And if you happen to have his contact information on social media or otherwise too, give him some, give him a reach out and give him some support, give him some love. All right. So I want to do something here briefly before we get into the interviews that we've got with a couple of candidates. We're going to talk to Care Coleman and Josh Williams. Which one did I set up first, by the way? We're going to do that at 8 o'clock and 8:30. Care Coleman, of course, is a candidate for Congress in District 13. Josh is going to be first at 8 a.m. and then Care at 8:30. Care is a candidate in District 13 trying to move out Emilia Sykes, which would be a fantastic gift to the Congress if we were able to do that. And then Josh Williams is in a very, very heated Republican primary in District 9 to replace Marcy Kaptur. And Marcy Kaptur is not retired, by the way. It's an incumbent seat, is what I'm trying to say. It's not as if it's a vacancy. But Derek Marin, who is a former House representative who ran against her 2 years ago, is back in this fight. Josh Williams is in this fight. There's a couple of other individuals who are in this fight as well. And it's going to be a tough primary. It is. It's been pretty grueling. I've been asked to do a couple of things. I was trying to MC/host a debate between Josh Williams and Derek Marin, and we just got all kinds of pushback. Derek didn't want to go into the debate. Josh said, "Let's go." We couldn't pull it off, make it happen. But it's been a pretty contentious one. Derek Marin has put out some pretty harsh accusations against Josh Williams, and it's gotten to be it is what it is. It's politics. It's gotten ugly and nasty, unfortunately. But it's a very important race. Marcy Kaptur has got to go. She just does. And whoever comes out of this thing tomorrow when we have our elections is going to have to be strong. And, surviving a tough fight like this, I guess they'll be battle tested. That's for sure. But it's going to take a strong financial push and a strategic campaign to knock Marcy Kaptur out when she's been there for 749 years. So we're going to talk to Josh and we're going to talk to Care Coleman. That's coming up. But I want to just kind of hit super quick. You've seen the gas prices. We all know what's going on. It sucks. I did a video yesterday talking about how bad it sucks. $5 a gallon, $4.99. We're the 9th highest gas price state in the country. Now, I don't know how that happened. Normally we know California, when gas is $3 here, it's $5 in California. When gas is $5 here, it's $7.50 in California. We know that, right? This is the way it is. How did Ohio, landlocked Ohio, not landlocked around the lake, but how did Ohio end up, meaning it's not coastal though, end up being one of the most expensive states in the country for fuel? If people say, well, it's the Strait of Hormuz, the world oil market has been rocked by what's going on with Iran. And so, okay, yeah, it has, and there's no doubt. And some of our geopolitical adversaries are suffering the brunt of this much more than we are. China is being crushed. They have just a massive lack of fuel and energy in China right now because of the blockade. Some of our European quote unquote allies as well. Everybody is feeling this pinch. So it's like, okay, well, if everybody's feeling this pinch because of world oil prices being unstable and, price of a barrel of oil going from $95, was like $61, before all of this, to $90 to $110 to $130. Okay. Why isn't it hitting all 50 states the same way? It's a question that I don't have an answer to. This is just literally me puzzling and puzzling over it. why does it hit certain states differently? And why Ohio? Why are we number 9? And I saw a couple of newscasts over the weekend asking this very same question. Fox 8 News did something on it. I think 19 or somebody was just talking about what it is and why it is that Ohio's is so much higher. And you got to factor in, summer driving season is almost here. Everybody kind of, once we get into May, we start to see gas prices creep up a little bit because the oil companies know there's about to be a massive rush on it because people are going to start driving. And, so things like that, around Memorial Day in particular, but things like that play a role. But again, that's not Ohio exclusive either. So I don't understand why Ohio seems to be bearing the brunt of all of this. But there's something else I don't understand. And that is why are the gas prices as high as they are at this moment? We know they're going to go up because of the world oil markets like we're talking about, but why to the level that they are now, to the point where we're at 4? And did it go like overnight? Because 4 days ago, it was 449 or something like that on average in Ohio. And then the next morning, it was 499. Whoa, what just happened? How did it jump up? That was around the time that I told you I got into a chat with my son who spent $60 filling up his car. And he's like, what the hell? And he said, I didn't vote for this. And I said, no, you didn't. Neither did I. But it is what it is. And we had a good conversation, and we talked about that on this show. So what actually is the reason for the gas being so high, the price so high? So I want to pull up number 2, Dylan, if you could bring up number 2 here. This was a conversation on Real America's Voice, and they were trying to explain or to try to ask, I guess, and ask and answer the question, how and why are the gas prices what they are right now? What led to that massive spike from $4.49 to $4.99, for example? We do know that the world oil market instability is a big problem, that 20% of the world's oil comes through that strait. But some of this just isn't adding up. And we'll talk about the political ramifications of that in a moment, but let's just kind of watch here and listen and learn, or at least query a little bit more about why we are in the state we're in right now. Go ahead.
Gas was $5 a gallon when Joe Biden was in office, but oil was $139 a barrel. Today, it has creeped up over the last 2 or 3 days, but it's been in the 90s. Now it's at 105, 106, and gas is spiking anyway. At this rate, gas will be $6 a gallon. And it doesn't correlate with what we've seen previously, historically. Why is that?
Stop it. So that's the conundrum that I was speaking of. Okay, the math doesn't math here. When oil was $130 a barrel, we had $5 gas under Joe Biden. Now, Joe Biden, of course, if you recall, made it his mission to kill fossil fuels. He said, I guarantee it. I will kill fossil fuels. He said that. We're going to be all on renewable energy. And the guy was just an idiot. Dementia patient, whatever. He was, but his war on fossil fuels and their push and their promotion mandating electric vehicles in every garage by 2030 and all the other crap, it led to, this massive, reaction by the oil markets, right? And it spiked gas up over $5 a gallon, that among other things. But as you just heard, that was when gas was pushing $130, $140 a barrel. Well, we're not at $130, $40 a barrel right now. Why is gas the same price it was under Biden? We're at maybe $100, $105, $110 a barrel, yet it's $5 a gallon gas. The math doesn't math, as they like to say. What's the reason? Let's continue.
Boy, you got me scratching my head. When I was on my way just this morning, I was thinking about oil prices at 106, thinking that, it's 10, 15% over the past couple of weeks. All of a sudden, gas is up $1 from $4 to $5 in Plymouth, Michigan. And I had to do some quick research here to see what was going on. And it doesn't correlate, like you said, based on past spikes in history, based on the last week. It feels like they're gouging us, and it is a tax on every consumer except for the Tesla drivers.
Yeah, which means inflation will be on its way back because it costs everybody money, right? And so inflation is going to come back up potentially. Maybe that's why they didn't vote to lower interest rates. Chairman Powell apparently is going to stick around at the Fed, just won't be chairman. What do you make of his time there? What do you make of them not moving the interest rates again?
We can stop it there because it was more the gas that I wanted to get to there. Thank you, Dylan. The inflation part is a natural byproduct of it. It absolutely is. We talked about this again during Biden's $5 a gallon gas time, because everything that, if it's $5 a gallon for gasoline, what's diesel? $7, $6.50, something like that. And the diesel that is used to propel the trucks that are used to bring everything from every manufacturer and every field to your grocery store or your department store, or your retail store, everything that is shipped costs more. It's a natural byproduct of high fuel costs. Inflation is going to spike back up. Shockingly, the market hasn't figured this out yet, because the stock market continues to surge. The end of last week, it was still pushing up around 50,000. Talking about the Dow. I don't know if it's going to last forever like that. I don't know exactly what it is. Those kinds of things typically lead to market reactions that go down. It's why people have the wild swings and they cannot handle them. But the reality is that the market isn't reacting yet, but it will. It's going to have to, and prices haven't really spiked accordingly. When you go from $4 a gallon gas to $5 a gallon gas, even from $3 a gallon gas to $4, which is what it was a couple of months ago. Remember, we're about 60, 70 days into this whole thing now. But when you go like that, typically that inflationary crunch is felt a lot sooner than what this one has. I mean, if you go to the grocery store right now, or go to most of the department stores or big box stores or wherever it is that you shop, prices haven't really matched what the delivery cost of getting those things to the shelves would be. So we're kind of lucky in that regard. But nonetheless, I filled up my truck, so it's an F-150. So it's 21 gallon tank or 22, whatever it is. I filled up my tank and it cost me $91 or $92. And I watched that thing continue to climb and I just had to turn around so I didn't freaking get ticked off. But then when I heard it shut off and I turned back around it again, it was up to $91 or 92, whatever. I was just like, I was legitimate, because how can you not be? But I paused myself and I thought to myself, what is it that I'm really thinking right now? That I'm pissed that Trump went into Iran? Yeah, a little bit. But as I drove away from the gas station, I pondered and thought a little bit more about what I was mad about. I remember the conversation with my son. He's got a smaller tank. It cost him $60 to fill out, but he filled up before it hit $5 a gallon, by the way. But still, $60 to him is a lot worse than $90 to you or me. Young man starting out. Every nickel counts. And so as I was driving away, I thought to myself about how ticked I was that President Trump went into Iran because of what it just did to the cost of our fuel. But then I pondered it a little bit more and thought, well, for quite some time there, I hadn't thought about the $5 a gallon gas that we experienced under Biden, because it went back down under President Trump. It was in President Trump's first term. When he left office, it was $2.39, right? And I kind of didn't think about the fact that it had been $4. And now, my point being, I realized as I drove away that price that I'm seeing on my on the gas gauge or the gas pump, this sucks, but it is a temporary thing. A year from now, we won't remember it. A year from now, we may remember it for the purposes of talking points, but we're not going to remember feeling it. A year from now, the gas prices will be stabilized, less than that. But, a year from now, the gas prices will be stabilized. They'll go back down to that manageable place that they were before. And, and we're going to have to ask ourselves, what did we get? What did we get for that? And the reality is, when we forget about the gas prices being $5 a gallon and the crimp in our lifestyle and our budget that it's putting right now, when we forget about that, we're going to be thinking about other things. And this is what I want people to think about.
this is all tied back to the question of, do you regret your vote for Trump? And if you go on, online right now, there are several conservatives, some of them prominent conservatives, people that I would have thought actually lived the word conservative and didn't just, cosplay it. But we're finding out that they're not true conservatives. We're finding out that they're not, truly MAGA and America first. They're malleable. Okay. And something like the price of gas right now can make them turn against their political beliefs, their ideological principles. Okay. And they're saying they're, and it's not just Tucker Carlson. They're saying they're regretting their vote for President Trump because they're feeling this financial pinch right now. And this is what I ranted about yesterday in one of my road rants. Stop saying that unless you're willing to say, I wish Kamala Harris was president right now. You realize you cannot say both of those things. You have to have one or the other. If you say that you regret your vote for President Trump because I didn't vote for this. I didn't vote to go to war with Iran and spike my gas prices and pinch my family's budget. I hate that too, by the way. If you're saying that, and therefore I regret my vote for Trump, there was no third choice for you. There wasn't then and there isn't now. If you regret voting for Trump, you're saying, I wish I would have voted for Kamala. And all I can say to that is, put down the crack pipe. Do you have any recollection whatsoever of who and what that thing was? The worst candidate for president in the history of the country, either party. And I know that Walter Mondale lost 49 states to Ronald Reagan. You'd think he was probably the worst candidate they ever ran? Nope. Mondale would have been 1 billion times preferable to Kamala Harris. This woman could not comprehend basic political theory. She could not comprehend basic economics. She could not understand world geography. They sent her to Ukraine, if you remember, when she was vice president, and she could not possibly have sounded any more than what she was, which is dumber than she did. I'm here standing on the east of Europe in Ukraine, and Ukraine is a country that was invaded by Russia, which is a bigger country, and so that's bad. I mean, I'm paraphrasing it, but you remember it, right? Me doing this in such a lousy paraphrase brought back memories of this. This was, not only was she stupid, and is she stupid, and God willing, she will make another run at it in 2028 and be a major force in the Democrat primaries. Holy goodness, that would be a dream come true. But not only was she stupid, but Kamala Harris was all kind of Marxist. I did a very, very lengthy interview with Trevor Loudon, who knows the history of Kamala Harris, how she got her start from her younger childhood, but in particular into her high school and college years. The influences on her life were some of the most radical leftists you can imagine. And then what she did to gain her start in politics, who she hooked up with, and how she did so. The whole Kamala Harris story was just I don't know, it was a walking combination between a nightmare and a comedy, because if it wasn't that she came close to being president, not that she was close in the actual election, but that she was the Democrat nominee, that's not funny. That's a nightmare. But it was comical watching and listening to her. I would like to say to anybody that is PO'd about the $5 gas right now, that is having second thoughts about voting for Trump, can you imagine right now turning on your TV this morning, turning on a live stream like this or whatever, and hearing us talking about President Harris? Can you imagine if she was able to? Where would we be right now if President Harris was in office? The 12 to 20 million illegal aliens that came in under Biden? After another, what's it been? A year, all of 2025 and 4 months of 2026, 16 months? What would that bring in? About another 4 million, 4 or 5 million more illegals? Human traffickers? Cartel members? Drug runners? Gang members? By the millions. Yeah. That's what you'd rather have than the $5 a gallon gas right now? Open borders again? Or continuing? I guess it would have been continuing. Are you seriously thinking about that right now? The absolute insanity of thinking that I regret my vote for Trump because it's costing us a little bit more at the pump right now. Okay, a lot more. I'll admit it. I acknowledge it. I hate it. A lot more at the pump right now. To think that you would rather have this any other way with another person, with, again, it was a binary choice. There was no third option. It was either Kamala Harris, who was given her position. She was never voted for by a single Democrat in the primaries. She was awarded the position of Democrat nominee when Joe Biden finally crashed out, when the auto pen just ran out of ink, and he ran out of his sensibilities, whatever was left of them. They went ahead and crowned her and gave her the nomination. So it was a binary choice. It was her or Trump, and that was it. And if you are right now in any way, shape, or form thinking, boy, I really wish I hadn't voted for Trump because of the gas prices, you need to seriously step away from politics altogether, turn off the television, turn off your computer, turn off your phone, and try to regain your senses. Find some balance in your life because you have gone off the deep end. I would vote for Trump again today and tomorrow and the next day and the next day and the next day and for the next 100 years before I would give somebody like Kamala Harris the reins of power, or Joe Biden, or Pete Buttigieg, or Gavin Newsom, or Elizabeth Warren, or who else is going to make a run at this thing? J.B. Pritzker, or Tim Walz. I don't care if gas was $11 a gallon. I'm not going to surrender my country and the future for my children and my yet non-existent grandchildren by voting for one of these lunatics to destroy what is left of our republic. Stop talking like that. Stop going online and tweeting about that, because you're going to start to make other people think stupid thoughts as well. Are things perfect in this country right now? No. Are things a hell of a lot better, a damn sight better than they were under Joe Biden? Again, not just because of the closed borders, although that's mammoth and massive. And the fact that now that, and we didn't talk about this a ton on Friday, but the DHS funding is finally through. It's been signed. DHS is back to full strength. And now the funding for ICE and CBP can go through on a simple majority vote by way of the reconciliation process that should be done by the end of this month. President Trump kind of gave the Congress a deadline, or at least a goal of by June 1st. He wants to have that. So once ICE is fully funded and everything is back to, going great guns again, the massive deportation. So far, there's around 3 million that have been deported. That's not nearly enough. If you want the quote unquote largest deportation in American history, which is what we were promised, we'll start to get that now that the funding will be taken care of and ICE and CBP can go and do their thing. But not just that, but the fact that you're going to have more money in your pocket because of no taxes on tips, more money in your pocket because of no taxes on overtime, no more money in your pocket because of far lower taxes on Social Security. There have been so many improvements made. DEI and fundamental fairness, DEI gone fundamental fairness, meritocracy in the federal government, and everything touches the federal government. How large is that compared to DEI? The fact that President Trump spearheaded through, this complete shift when it comes to, and is trying to, by the way, if he could get the recalcitrant Republicans in the Senate to come along with this, it would obviously go even further. But trying to figure out a way to make sure that Democrats can't do what they did in 2020 and 2022 and steal elections anymore. President Trump is the driving force behind the Save America Act. That's another one. If you look at just, so many of the woke disasters that we suffered through for 4 years of Joe Biden, it would be continuing now under Kamala Harris. The same woke garbage. President Trump has gone to the mat for us. Has it all been perfect? No. Is it, again, a damn sight better than what we would have gotten from Democrats or any Democrat to come in the future? Absolutely. So stop questioning yourself. Stop second guessing yourself on whom you want to support and wishing you would have supported and so forth. Because, again, all of this will be a distant memory. The $5 gallon gas. Now, it's not going to be tomorrow that it goes back down to normal. I had a headline, and I don't think I have it anymore, but I had it from Friday's show, in which the headline was, Trump says gas prices could maintain until November. That sounds horrible. I don't want to pay $5 a gallon gas or more in June and in July and in August and in September, and I'll list the months all the way up through to October and November, because we're talking about what? We're talking about 6 more months of that kind of pain. I don't want that to be the case. But he's basing this on what it's going to take to finish the war with Iran and then get everything recalibrated. And so it could be a while. And you know what that's going to lead to? A whole lot of other people wishing they hadn't voted for Trump. And when you wish you hadn't voted for Trump because of your gas prices, and you wish that way in June and July and August and so forth, you're not going to be too terribly inspired to go to the polls and vote for his agenda, which is being, has manifested itself, of course, in the members of Congress. The midterm elections are going to decide the Trump agenda going forward. We either have the majority and we push forward, or we lose the majority and the Democrats take over and destroy America. It's not a tough decision, right? Shouldn't be. But I'm worried about that. That's the whole reason I'm bringing it up now. If you're regretting your vote in May because of $5 gas, and $5 gas persists through the summer, you're going to be regretting your vote more, and you're going to not show up. And that's when we surrender the country. Please don't surrender the country. Please don't surrender. That's what I wrote about. Did I put that in the newsletter yesterday too? I'm sorry. Yesterday morning. If you're not subscribing yet to the Strictly Speaking This Week newsletter, hit me up. Email me, bob@strictlyspeaking.org, bob@strictlyspeaking.org. Just tell me you want to add your name and your email address to the list, and we'll send it to you. But between the road rants and the thanks, Dylan. Between the road rants and the newsletter, I try to cover all of these things, and I don't remember if I got it in there or not. But the agenda that President Trump has set forth is going to either survive the midterms and save the country, or it's going to be killed in the midterms, and the country is going to be lost, because they will impeach. It won't go anywhere, but they'll impeach Trump, they'll impeach Hegseth, they'll impeach Rubio, they'll impeach every single member of the cabinet that they can. And the next 2 years will be disastrous. And then, obviously, with 2 years of nothing good being done, the Democrats are going to do everything they can to say, we'll fix it, elect Gavin Newsom or somebody in 2028, and it'll be all over. So don't feed this narrative right now that somehow, some way, things would be better if you hadn't voted for Donald Trump. Sure, we wouldn't have gone into Iran, no question about that. And then Iran in a year would be nuclear, with a stockpile of ballistic missiles that we can't even touch them through. That's why things had to happen now. Do not think that we'd be better off. We would not. We would not be better off with President Kamala any more than we were with President Biden. We would not be better off with any of the things they bring with them. And people need to know that. All right. What I'm going to do here. Oh, I know what I'm going to do. Look at this. I fixed the graphic. People have been making fun of me when I've been talking about Charlie's Auto Repair in Lakewood because, again, it was an AI mistake. I gave it 13728 Madison Avenue, and it skipped the 1 and put 3728 Madison Avenue. So Charlie texted me and said, hey, fix my graphic. You got the wrong address up there. And I said, don't blame me. It's AI. And he said, yeah, the dog eat your homework too. And you know what? I could just, if I didn't love Charlie so much, I would have said a certain kind of thing to him. But it is right. 13728. It doesn't matter, because what you're going to do is going to call that phone number. And that's what's most important if you want to make an appointment to get your car done. Your car, whether it be routine maintenance, whether it be extensive repairs, you're going to want to do what I do and what I've been doing for a long time. And so have smart car owners and light truck owners in Northeast Ohio. They're going to Charlie's Auto Repair in Lakewood because you've got an honest mechanic waiting on the other end. It's a hard thing to find. Take your car to any garage you want, and I promise you, in some way, shape, or form, just about everybody is going to be jacking up a little bit of the cost, telling you it took me an extra hour of labor to do this because it was more complicated than that. We had to replace this part in addition to the other part that I quoted you because we didn't know until we got inside, but that's what that one cost too. And what do you do when they're standing there handing you a bill and your car's ready to go? You either take it and pay the bill, or you say, no, you didn't say that. And you're going to argue with them. And then what? It happens everywhere, all the time, which is why when you find an honest mechanic, an honest garage, you cling to that with your death grip. Seriously, find it and hold on to it. And that's Charlie. Charlie's Auto Repair in Lakewood. He is MAGA. He is America first, and he is brilliant. He will find the source of your car's problems. He'll take care of the routine maintenance, especially the electronics. He's a whiz when it comes to the electronics, which is what most cars are now. They're giant computers on wheels. But anyway, Charlie is the place to go. Call 216-470-0170 for Charlie's Auto Repair, 216-470-0170. And yes, if you want to stop by, you can find it at 13728 Madison in Lakewood. Charlie is a foundational sponsor. Charlie's Auto Repair is a foundational sponsor of Strictly Speaking Unfiltered. Okay, I'm going to take a very short time out here as we get set for our guest, our first guest who's going to be joining us this hour. He is Josh Williams. He's a candidate for Ohio 9. He wants to boot Marcy Kaptur out of Washington, D.C., and I would love nothing more than to see him do that. But he's got a very, very tough primary fight that he's been engaged in over the course of the last year or year and a half. And it all comes to a head tomorrow in the Ohio primary. So we're going to talk a little bit with him about what that means. A little later on in the hour, Care Coleman, who's in Ohio's 13th district, fighting to win the Republican nomination there so he can try to remove Emilia Sykes. So we've got a couple of important primary Tuesday interviews coming up here on this Monday after I take this short time out. Enjoy The Line in the Sand.
Vest on, boots laced. Another name on the paper, another hard case. Got a wife back in Lubbock, kids in their Sunday best. I ain't some villain in a movie, I'm a man doing my best. You can scream in my face, you can block my way, but this badge on my chest means somebody's safe today. You hold that sign, I hold this line in my hands. While you're chatting the street, I'm the one who stands. Yeah, you draw your crowd, I draw the line in the sand. Saw you playing for cameras, shoving phones in my crew, spitting words like traitor, like you know what we go through. When you circle that transport like it's some kind of game, there's a scared little girl in the backseat, you don't even know her name. You can scream in my face, you can block my way, but this badge on my chest means somebody's safe today. You hold that sign, I'll hold this line in my hands. While you're chanting the street, I'm the one who stands. Yeah, you draw your crowd, I draw a line in the sand. You say you care about people, then you shove them into harm's way. You turn a bus into battlefield. I'm just trying to get them home today. Call me every name you can think of. I'll still show up when it hits the fan. When the dust clears, when fear's near, we'll see who really ran. You can scream in my face, you can block my way, but this badge on my chest means somebody's safe today. You hold that sign, I'll hold this line in my hands. While you chant in the street, I'm the one who stands. Yeah, you draw your crowd, I draw a line in the sand. Yeah, you draw your crowd, I draw a line in the sand.
All right, there you go. All set and ready now. I do see him in the green room. He is an Ohio State representative who's looking to represent our state in Washington, D.C. in the 9th Congressional District, which, of course, is Northeast Ohio, Toledo area. Let's bring in Josh Williams back to our program right here, Strictly Speaking Unfiltered. There he is. There's the man himself. Can you hear me, Josh? Okay, that's a problem. Josh can't hear me. I know our volume is all up there. You're going to have to check on your end, Josh. It's going to be on your end. I don't know how to make sign language here to say that because I've got you loud here and we're not muted. Dylan, we're not muted, are we? You can hear me okay, right?
Copy that.
Yeah, okay. So Josh is going to have to tap something out there on his equipment and make sure that he's got the volume up and is able to hear. Josh is in a tough fight. In fact, Dylan, go ahead and play this for me if you would, because I was wondering whether or not I should do it or not, but now I've got the time to do it. Play this post of Josh Williams. This is number 7 on our rundown. Give us number 7 while we wait for Josh to reconnect here. The video there. There should be a video. All right, maybe I'm mistaken. Yeah. Well, you know what? I'm sorry. There's 2 different ones. Dylan, that's my bad. This one is not the video portion. This is him weighing in. You can just put it on the screen though, and that's fine. This is him weighing in on the huge Supreme Court decision last week about Louisiana, and specifically about whether or not the Voting Rights Act was intended to racially discriminate by forming districts, drawing districts specifically to make them majority black or majority white or what have you. It is completely unconstitutional. That's not what the Voting Rights Act was all about. And Josh Williams, as a black, because what the left and what the Democrats have said, of course, about that is, I've got to get on something here. Well, what the Democrats have said about that, of course, is that this is some way, shape, or form trying to disenfranchise African-American voters because black voters need to be able to be in a district where they can elect their own black representative. And the idea that a black voter has to be represented by a black, congressman is just ridiculous. So that's what Josh Williams responded to. And as you can see, he said, I am a black Republican who currently represents a majority white district in the Ohio State House and is running to represent a majority white district in Congress. The idea that black Americans need special districts carved out just for them is complete nonsense. It's a violation of the law and blatantly unconstitutional. Glad the Supreme Court made the right decision. Absolutely right. All right, let's try to bring Josh back in now and see if we can get him squared away. Josh, can you hear me now?
I can't hear you now. Sorry about that.
That's all right. It happens, buddy. Appreciate you pushing through that. Thanks very much. Hey, we were just while you were getting reconnected there, I was just reading your tweet in response to the decision on the Voting Rights Act last week. Specifically, it's not on the Voting Rights Act, but the Louisiana case on the maps that were drawn that they said, the Democrats say, you have to let us draw districts that are majority black so that black people can have their own representative. And I'm thinking to myself, I didn't think a black person had to be represented by another black person any more than a white by a white. And look at you, a black representative. You seem to agree.
Yeah, it's just another effort of segregation. You know, I'm a black Republican that currently serves in a majority white district here in the Ohio House of Representatives. I currently serve as the first black majority whip in a majority white House of Representatives here in the state of Ohio. And I'm running as a congressional candidate in a majority white congressional district to get rid of Marcy Kaptur, the longest serving female Democrat in the history of our country. You don't need to pander to the Democrat Party by saying that Black people need specifically drawn districts just for them. It's absurd. And as I stated in my tweet, it's clearly unlawful and unconstitutional. I taught constitutional law for over 5 years at Adrian College. We used to study the Voters' Rights Act, but we also studied the actual Constitution and the Equal Protections Clause that said you must treat all Americans equally. And we knew the day would come when this decision was going to be made. It was just a question of when, not whether or not it was going to happen.
Yeah, that's very well said, Josh. And you know, a lot of people, Hakeem Jeffries firing up Democrats and making his remarks. I'm sure you saw them after the Supreme Court decision was announced. And he said, you know, diversity is dead, and affirmative action is dead, and inclusion is dead, and equity is dead. And he said voters' right, the Voting Rights Act is pretty much dead now. I don't quite understand what he is trying to say. Again, all the Supreme Court did and all President Trump has done in trying to kill DEI is saying no one should be racially discriminated against, regardless of their race. Is that not common sense to you? Because that's what I think it is.
It is common sense. And the reason you see Hakeem Jeffries so fired up about this is because this was a way of forcing Republican-controlled states to draw Democrat-controlled districts by grouping Black people into a congressional seat, even though they didn't live geographically in proximity to each other. So when you look at the maps now, we've already seen the gerrymandering happen in Illinois and New Hampshire and all of these other Democrat-controlled states.
Virginia.
You have 30 and 40% Republicans, but 0 or 1 member of Congress coming from that state. But you'll go down into the South or in Republican controlled areas where Black people may make up just a small percentage, 10, 15% of the state, and they want specifically drawn maps. This was never for the Democrat Party any concern for Black people and for Black voters. This was a concern on whether or not they could force you to draw Democrat-controlled congressional seats and say it was because we needed a majority-minority district. This just benefited them. This was a form of gerrymandering in a different name, different face.
100%. Josh, as real quick, last thing on this, then I'm going to get into the race. The election race, not race, you understand. But as a Black man, what do you make of the left-wing trope, if you will, that says that, you know, Black kids need Black doctors, Black kids need Black teachers. They have to be taught and cared for and treated by people who look like them, or else they won't have any trust in what they are receiving. Because that's kind of the same mentality here with Black people need to have Black representation in Congress. Can a white teacher treat a Black child well? Can a white teacher teach a Black child in the opinion of a Black man?
Absolutely. So, I mean, this is just a version of segregation to say that a student needs to look at the head of the classroom and see an accurate reflection of them, or a student needs to look at their doctor and see a reflection of them. It's not a question of whether or not there should be representation within each individual profession. I believe that we should have representation in each profession, but I also believe that that representation is naturally built. So if you want more doctors, if you want more lawyers, if you want more teachers that are Black, you need to ask the question, why are we not represented more? And it's because of the poor performing school districts in the inner city that's controlled by Democrats. It's the poor performing states controlled by Democrats that continuously hold Black people back. So they can keep you in perpetual poverty. So every 4 years, they can come and say the racist Republicans are going to take your free stuff away. Vote for us. I mean, we just were looking at that on a tweet that happened, where clearly there was a change in the party alignment when it came to Black voters, starting in the 1930s when we started doing public subsidies. And as public subsidies grew, more and more Black people went to the Democrat Party. But we saw a trend, a shift under President Trump. We saw in the 2024 election cycle that Black voters are shifting back to the Republican Party, not because there was a change in the parties, but because they're looking for representatives that can listen to their grievances, listen to their concerns and what's affecting their communities, and provide actionable actual policy. And that's what Donald Trump proposed. And that's why he got record numbers of minorities, especially black men, to vote for him in the 2024 election. And we need to continue that trend. We don't need to draw you congressional districts. If anything, we want you to be one of the strong voting blocks, just like every other demographic when it comes to congressional seats. But we've seen, and I've demonstrated that here in the state of Ohio and in other states, if you are a quality candidate based off of your merits, and you hit the ground running, and you go out and you meet individuals, racism will not stop you from being a congressman. It didn't stop me from being a state rep, and it definitely didn't stop me from being the first black majority whip in the state of Ohio.
Well said, Josh. Josh Williams is our guest. He is a candidate for Congress in Ohio 9. Tomorrow is, of course, primary day. It's been a pretty interesting race. It's a crowded field that you're in right now. Let me run it down real quick. So you've got Derek Marin, who, of course, former state rep like yourself, former state rep who ran against Marcy Kaptur 2 years ago and came relatively close to actually upsetting her. Madison Sheehan, who was most recently was working with ICE, Anthony Campbell and Emilia Nadeem, all part of this very crowded field. So, Josh, as we are now just a day away from actual primary day, early voting, of course, has been going on for a month now, but tomorrow is when it's all going to come to a head. How are you feeling about your chances in that crowded field?
We're comfortable. We've ran the race that we wanted to run. You know, we've been all over the district gaining support from all 10 counties. We've been endorsed by over 100 elected officials. We get support every day. We're out knocking doors and going to events. You know, we continue to see our chances. It's very, very good leading into the final voting day in this district. You know, I've ran to represent the district like I've done in the General Assembly for 3 years. It's, you know, representative of actual Northwest Ohio. Marcy Kaptur's been in office longer than I've been alive, and it's time for her to go. But we're not going to be able to do it with just the same usual candidate that couldn't produce 20,000 voters that voted for Donald Trump didn't vote for the last nominee, and that's why we lost that seat. Yet those voters voted for me in the same in the same area of Northwest Ohio. So, I mean, we're looking forward to the vote starting to roll in. We're going to be sitting here watching it with my wife and family, and hopefully I'll be the next Republican nominee to actually get rid of Marcy Kaptur.
Josh, for those who don't know, you know, the 9th District is here in kind of our coverage area, if you will. And even though I'm online, which is everywhere now, we're still primarily based here in Northeast Ohio. But there are areas that we talk to that are going to be voting in Ohio 9. Separate yourself. And I'm not trying to disparage any of the other candidates, by the way. But again, I think the two biggest names here, state representatives, both Derek Marin and yourself, and Derek, of course, being the guy last time around to challenge Marcy Kaptur. Separate yourself in the mind of an undecided voter who likes what they hear from you. And I think a lot of people do. You have really opened a lot of eyes during this campaign. I've known about you for some time, and you and I have been talking for a bit, so I'm not surprised. But a lot of other people are maybe just getting their first experience of Josh Williams in this campaign. Separate yourself, for those who don't know, separate yourself from Derek Marin.
Yeah, so I mean, the number one goal is to get rid of Marcy Kaptur here in Northwest Ohio. And I'm the only candidate that can say on paper I can prove that I can do it because I've done it before. You know, in the 2024 election in my House district, I outperformed Marcy Kaptur by 6,600 votes. I outperformed the prior nominee by almost 4,000 votes, and I outperformed Bernie Moreno by over 4,000 votes in my actual House district I currently serve. To beat Marcy Kaptur, you have to pick up votes in Toledo and in Lucas County. And I'm the only candidate that can actually go in those neighborhoods and have conversations and win those votes because I've done it in 2 General Assembly elections running up. Because my backstory of going from being raised in poverty by a single mother to dropping out of high school when I was homeless and being disabled after falling at work and spending 6 years fighting through that physical injury and 2 years of physical therapy just to learn how to walk again, and making my way to college at 30. And by 35, I was becoming a practicing attorney, graduating from law school and going on to be a college professor, and then running to be the first Black Republican in the Ohio House in 50 years, elected in the Toledo area in the first Black majority whip. We've demonstrated that we can win in the general election. It's not just about what Republican can win the primary. It's about who can actually beat Marcy Kaptur and represent the district. And, I've gone around the district. I've introduced a tremendous amount of legislation to address the issues here in Northwest Ohio. I currently have 104 pieces of legislation pending before the Ohio House that I personally drafted. And that's earned the respect and support and endorsement of over 100 elected officials, community leaders, and organizations here in Ohio, including Robert Sprague and Franklin Rose have endorsed me. The majority of the members in the Ohio House of Representatives have endorsed me. Very good organizations like Buckeye Firearm and the Greater Toledo Right to Life have endorsed me in this race. And I think that's important. And even 7 county sheriffs have endorsed me to provide for public safety here in Northwest Ohio. There's no other candidate that can say that they have that wide range support, not only from the Republican Party, but I got people in Toledo that are putting out yard signs for me in some of the most impoverished communities because they believe I'm the candidate that can help dig them out of that situation. Because when they look at the field, they see that I understand what they're going through. I can empathize with their struggles, but I can also give them direction on how to dig themselves out of that situation because I've experienced it, I've lived it, and I've overcome it.
It's a great response, and I really appreciate what you did too. You're trying to focus this on Marcy Kaptur because that's the real enemy here, if you will. The Democrat majority, a threat of the Democrat majority, is the real enemy here. But again, you've got to get through Derek to win this thing. And again, his campaign has kind of been, look, we almost got her last time. We came closer than anybody has in 30 some years that she's been in Congress, and longest serving female and blah blah blah. But we came close. So how do you intend to overcome that? And obviously we're talking about voting tomorrow. How have you approached in your campaign overcoming the more, the name recognition that comes with him having been the nominee last time around, as far and coming close to taking her out?
Yeah, we can't deny it that he has name recognition. Marcy Kaptur spent $10 million, outlining his history with Householder and the money he accepted through the bribery scheme here in the state of Ohio. But voters just remember that Derek Merritt's name was said, widespread across the district, and that he almost came close. But again, he almost came close to winning, meaning he lost to Marcy Kaptur in an election when 20,000 MAGA Trump Republicans refused to vote for him in the last election cycle. And this is going to be a tough general election. This is not a cakewalk. Yes, the district got more Republican, but this is a midterm election where we anticipate there's going to be a wave of Democrat support, and you need a candidate that's able to bring in the non-traditional Republican voters, the independents, the soft Democrats. And I've demonstrated that I've been able to do that not only in a presidential year, but in an off year. I first got elected in 2022 in an off year when J.R. Majewski was on the ballot and he lost to Marcy Kaptur, but I was able to pull out a victory in a Democrat-controlled district in Toledo. I was able to flip that district Republican for the first time in a very long time. And I did that even when there was a so-called blue wave that year, and Marcy had tremendous support. So, we know we will win the general election, and we need to get through the primary to be able to do so.
That's huge, by the way. That's huge. That flip during that time, that's a very great point. By the way, for those who are wondering, because I mentioned some of the coverage area that we kind of have, Erie County and Sandusky County are kind of, like I said, part of our wheelhouse here. Those are 2 of the counties in the 9th. As Josh just said, you've got to win in Lucas County, but the 9th district covers Defiance, Williams, Fulton, Lucas, Ottawa, and then, as I said, Sandusky and Erie County with a part of Wood County as well. So that's kind of the reason why this matters. People who are typically listening to us, in those counties, in Erie and Sandusky County, you're going to have a vote here, and you're going to have a very, very tough decision to make. And I've been trying to introduce people to Josh Williams for a long time now because I want people. I like what Josh stands for. I've been a huge supporter of a lot of the legislation that he has indeed sponsored and written and proposed in the Ohio State House. So this is a real great opportunity for us to have some new blood and maybe in the best position to take out Marcy Kaptur. What do you, if you can, Josh, how do you expect 2027 and 2028 to go if the Democrats take the majority? And that means every single vote in every single race is magnified like never before, and that includes the opportunity to take a seat, a Democrat seat like Marcy Kaptur's, and get rid of it. If we lose this race,
Yeah.
and if we lose the majority, what happens in this country?
I mean, we don't need to predict it. We've already seen it. What's going to happen is if they get control of the House, Hakeem Jeffries is going to become the majority leader. He's going to become the Speaker of the House. You're going to see impeachments across the board. You're going to see multiple Trump administration officials get impeached. Whether they get convicted in the Senate, we saw just like Donald Trump, they're not going to get convicted in the Senate, but then they're going to run. The Democrats are going to run a campaign in 28 about how many corrupt politicians got impeached in 27. And that's why you should vote for them. And then they're going to run a candidate. Maybe it's Gavin Newsom. Maybe it's AOC. Maybe it's a more moderate Democrat, at least at face value. But they're going to use the impeachment process to try to get political points, just like they, indicted Donald Trump to use it by in the election cycle to say that he was somehow convicted of felonies. So we know what's going to happen. It's going to be chaos. We're going to go through 2 years of impeachment hearings. There's not going to be any progress for the American people. It's going to be mud throwing back and forth, and they're going to legislate through their administrative agencies, just like they did under the Biden-Harris administration, where all the real work is done by the EPA and the Department of Commerce and all of those departments that are going to rush through regulations that destroy America. And they're going to use those impeachments in the 2028 presidential election. And if that election results in them winning the Senate and the presidency, we're going to lose our country forever. They're going to give statehood to DC and Puerto Rico. They're going to pick up seats in the Senate. They're going to pack the court and add new justices to the Supreme Court. They're going to try to reverse a bunch of decisions, and the country is going to be lost. And there's going to be no recovery from there. So this is one of the most crucial elections, and that's why I sacrificed my law career to go into public service, because I saw the future of our country was on the brink, and that we needed to make tremendous strides for the Republican Party over the next 12 years in order to save this nation, or it may be lost forever.
Yeah, that's a great answer. And it is that dire. The situation is that dire. If we lose the majority, all of those things are going to happen. And every single one of these seats, again, there are going to be some incumbent Republicans who lose their spots. I don't have any doubt of that. So we need to make sure that there are incumbent Democrats who are replaced by people like you, and Marcy Kaptur is prime. I think the time is right for her to be taken out finally of Washington, D.C. Super quick, just a couple of the issues, if I might. What's your stance? If it came down to it, and there has not been a required congressional vote on the war effort in Iran right now, but if it came down to it, where would you be with respect to President Trump's declaration here? If there had to be a congressional declaration of war, would you vote for it?
Well, that depends. I'm not privy to the intelligence that showed how close Iran got to a nuclear weapon. I'm not privy to the intelligence that shows, how capable they are of resuming their activities, and what the real potential is of long-range missiles being able to reach U.S. territory. I mean, we've seen that they can reach our military bases and our allies in the region. So I would want to be privy to the actual intelligence that shows how close we are. I support Donald Trump's effort with Iran currently. I mean, they pretty much bragged to the world that they were trying to get a nuclear weapon. And following October 7th, we can't have a regional power like Iran have possession of a nuclear material, whether it's a dirty bomb or actual functional nuclear weapon, because we've seen that they are willing to go on the international stage and wreak terror. They're willing to fund terror. I believe that we can accomplish some of those goals by, continuing to attack their military, continuing to attack their leadership. I don't think we have to put a single boot on the ground in Iran to cripple them. I think we need to reinstate our sanctions that crippled their economy previously and were lifted under Obama. That way, I think we don't need to get any boots on the ground, and an actual declaration of war may not be necessary. But I think we could approve an extension of the offensive capabilities that we're using now, where our Navy is present, where we use our Air Force to cripple their ability to strike their neighbors and strike American assets and American national interests in the region. I absolutely support that, but I would need to see the intelligence before I would ever vote to put boots on the ground.
Yeah, that's fair. And I don't think the war declaration necessarily means boots will be on the ground, but even to continue according to the War Powers Act, there's a limit as far as how long you can carry this out. And so some are calling for that declaration now by Congress or, an up or down vote on that issue. Last thing for you, if I could, Josh, is just there's a war here at home too, and there was some really, really troubling video of more ICE agents being attacked in a riot situation. I just literally saw this morning as I was preparing for this live stream. We finally do have DHS funded at the federal level now. The House and the Senate finally got together. President Trump signed it, and there's a reconciliation bill to fund ICE and CBP to make sure that we continue to not only keep the border secured. Thankfully, I think we're 11 or 12 months in now of zero illegal aliens being released into the interior of the United States, which is amazing. But part two of that promise we got from President Trump and Congress in November of 2024 was the largest deportation ever. Now that has hit some roadblocks because of the attacks on ICE and the riots and the obstruction and so forth. So where are you in that regard with respect to the way ICE is being treated, and what could you do, or what should Congress be able to do to protect those federal agents who continue to be attacked?
Yeah, I don't support, the way that ICE is being treated, the way that they are fearing for their safety in public. They're trying to do exactly what the voters wanted, which is the largest deportation efforts in our nation's history. But let's be clear. Up until Donald Trump got in office, the Democrat-controlled states, counties, and cities were cooperative with ICE. They would allow us to come into our jails and take out the criminal illegal aliens that were housed there and deport them. It is only now recently that they are refusing to comply with those efforts. So what you need to do is the same thing I did in HB 26 here in Ohio, which is defund sanctuary cities, counties, and states. There are hundreds of millions of dollars that go back to each state on an annual basis from the federal government. They need to be tied to cooperation. There is a lot of funds that you can dictate to these states that either you cooperate with our immigration efforts through ICE and Customs and Border Patrol, or you lose these millions of dollars. And as we threaten that, as we've seen state legislatures threaten that within their own state, we start seeing the actual law enforcement and elected officials in that state comply. And that's what I tried to do with House Bill 26. I hope that bill is going to start moving when we get back in the General Assembly here just next week. I look forward to that bill continuing to move and eventually passing and being signed by the governor. But we need to do that at the national level as well. It's known as conditional funding, placing conditions on the federal dollars that flow into the states, that they allow ICE to go into our jails, to go into our courthouses and remove the criminal illegal aliens. That was the first and most important effort that Donald Trump said, is that he will get the criminal illegal aliens out of our community. Then you use the normal deportation and immigration process to remove the other ones when they come back and they apply for their asylum, they apply for their work visas. And you don't need to get essentially boots on the ground with ICE like we saw in Minnesota, because all you're doing is giving a target for the woke left to send their paid activists across state lines to throw rocks, to try to harm federal agents, trying to get them to respond so they can catch it on video and say that we're somehow tyrannical. The answer is the government should be cooperating at the local level with federal immigration enforcement. And I will guarantee that that's going to happen when I get in Congress, because I will introduce legislation to make it where they either lose millions of dollars of federal funding or comply.
I think that is an absolutely perfect answer. The defunding of the sanctuary cities, honestly, and everything that you said about just cooperating. All we're doing is asking local law enforcement to cooperate with federal law enforcement. Nobody's saying they have to go out there and do the jobs of the feds, but just cooperate, hold on to somebody when a detainer has been issued, let them come and pick them up so they don't have to do broad sweeps in the streets, and we avoid so much of the manufactured chaos that the left is bringing to that situation. Josh Williams, great responses to the individual questions. I just want you to take 30, 45 seconds here to make a closing pitch. For people who are listening to us and watching us between now and voting day tomorrow or the time they go to the polls, give us your closing pitch as to why you are the right person to win this nomination to take on Marcy Kaptur in November.
Yeah, so I'm State Representative Josh Williams. I'm serving in my second term in the Ohio House, first term in leadership as Majority Whip. But I'm not a career politician. I never thought I would be sitting here on the Bob Frantz show actually running for Congress. I was born and raised in the inner city of Toledo in poverty. I was raised by a single mother. I dropped out of high school when I was 18 when I became homeless. I struggled. And a workplace injury left me disabled for 6 years, fighting to learn how to walk again. And I was able to overcome that and enroll in college at the age of 30. And by 35, I was graduating from law school, becoming a lawyer and a professor, and married my beautiful wife. And I'm watching my young teenage son go to prom and graduate from high school. And I saw the results of the 2020 election, and I saw how close we came to losing this nation. And I went home and I had a conversation with my wife about potentially running for office. And she gave me some very wise words. She said, if you have the ability to act and you fail to do so, do you have the right to complain? And it hit me to my core. And that's when I had to get off the sideline. I sacrificed my personal career to go into public service, to bring change to a state and a region that I really cared about deeply, because it was through my Lord and Savior's grace and mercy, I was able to dig myself out of poverty and out of disability. And it was the least I could do was go back and give hope to a generation that believes they're born, victims simply by their skin color. And, I can't understand how we're pushing those narratives here in a Republican state of Ohio. And I fought against that policy here in the state. I fought against DEI. I helped get DEI out of higher education. I helped make sure that boys aren't competing in women's sports, and that kids are not being transitioned at a young age because woke leftist ideologies from California are making their way to Ohio. But that's exactly what Marcy Kaptur has pushed here for 43 years. I've lived my entire life under her leadership here in Northwest Ohio, and I haven't seen any part of my district get better under her control. And that's why I'm running for Congress, not only to make sure that we have Republican control here in Northwest Ohio, but to give a voice to the voiceless, give hope to a generation that change is possible, and there is a path to prosperity out of poverty. And that's through good workforce development training, taking on individual responsibility, and taking ownership over your life. That's why I'm running to be the next congressman, and I would love your support in the May 5th primary.
Josh, that's a damn fine closing statement. And I'm so thank you for the history there too. I knew about your history, and I knew about your, your upbringing and the things that you overcame. But for those who did not know, that is an inspirational story. If ever I've heard one, I hope people will take that and consider it very, very seriously when they go and vote in that primary tomorrow. If you're in the 9th, please, please, please strongly consider Josh Williams. I think he is a person who could take Marcy Kaptur out of Washington, D.C. Josh, thank you. I'm happy to give you this platform, and wish you the very, very best, my friend. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Have a good one.
All right, there you go. That's Josh Williams for Congress. He is running in Ohio 9, as you just heard. And I'll tell you what, this is a tremendous opportunity, I think, to take Marcy Kaptur out, like I said, and chip away at that Democratic number. I would like to say chip away at the majority. They expect to get the majority here because they expect to flip a lot of red seats blue. We've got to counter by flipping some blue seats to red, and I think Josh can do that up in Northwest Ohio. And again, that kind of extends down here to Erie and Sandusky counties, which is kind of, close to the people that I talk to. So that's the reason why this one matters so much. All right, before we go to our next guest, I want to remind you about AFP and an opportunity for you to do something for our state. Join our friends at AFP Ohio. That's Americans for Prosperity Ohio. And listen, they've put together a tremendous plan, a blueprint, if you will, called the Buckeye Blueprint, and it's online at buckeyeblueprint.com. It needs volunteers, though. If you really want to help turn this state into what it can be, which is better for all of us, and for you, for me, for our kids and our grandkids to come, we have some decisions to make, seriously. Not only in the elections, obviously, we talk about that, and you can make your own mind up as far as which individuals are the right people. But I can tell you that the real difference makers are the grassroots supporters, people like you and me. What can you offer? What can you bring to the table to help the state of Ohio go from 39th in the country in just about everything to first in the country? Because AFP Ohio believes we can be first in all of those things. Economic opportunity, like you see on your screen right now, educational freedom, energy abundance, and government accountability. You need to step up. How can you step up? What can you do? As you can see, real change starts at the local level. Well, let's look at your locality. What can you do? Find out at buckeyeblueprint.com and join that movement in helping to grow Ohio. in stature, in ratings, and most importantly, in lifestyle and life quality for the people of our state. BuckeyeBlueprint.com, BuckeyeBlueprint.com. I'm so proud to have the financial support of the foundational partner that we have in AFP Ohio. Thank you to Americans for Prosperity Ohio. And please volunteer. Go to BuckeyeBlueprint.com. And you know what? I'll also say this too. Follow AFP Ohio on their social media too. They have a very active campaign telling you the kinds of different ways that you can volunteer as a grassroots volunteer as well on their Facebook page, for example, on their X page. So follow AFP Ohio in as many different social media places as you can. All right, it's 8:37. We're a little bit late getting to our next guest. So I want to stay on the congressional fight now as we are, of course, priming ourselves for Primary Tuesday. Great chat with Josh Williams, who is challenging Marcy Kaptur in Ohio 9. Now let's welcome somebody who wants to take Emilia Sykes out of Ohio 13. And of course, we speak of Care Coleman. Care Coleman now joining us on Strictly Speaking Unfiltered. Let's bring Care up to the stage if we could. There he is. Care, welcome back.
Hey,
How
Bob,
are you?
I cannot hear you if you can hear me. Because let's see here.
I hear you.
Okay, so we turn that on. Yeah, the audio just dropped out. If you can hear me.
Yeah, I hear you.
Why did my audio drop out?
Yeah, this is the same thing that happened with Josh Williams a few minutes ago.
I think it was on your end because I was listening to you guys, and all of a sudden the audio dropped out.
Yeah, I don't know why that.
Let's try it. I'll tell you what. Let's go to another one. Let's go to my phone. Hang on. Let's go here. Let's get in this one. Accept all cookies. We're going to do that. Here we go. Allow mic and access while using this site. Yes, here we go. While using this app. Okay. And okay, let's see if we can. I know my mic is on. I can see it.
Live engineering.
Okay.
See, when you have media experience like Kerry does,
Care Coleman. Let's put that in there. There we go. Enter studio. Okay. Now, there we go. So what's going on now?
Now we got some feedback because you've got your phone and your computer speakers in the same place.
Okay, I'll tell you what we'll do. We will turn this off. And now, how about that? Is that better?
Can you hear me?
I can.
Okay, so yeah, I don't know what it is. You're up on our end. Your mic is not muted on our end. For whatever reason, same thing happened with Josh Williams a few minutes ago. He couldn't hear me when he connected in. Then he dropped his connection and reconnected, and it worked.
Yeah, what I did is went to another device because I was listening to you guys and that great interview with Josh, and he is, I'm not going to endorse anybody in that particular race, but I will tell you, he is so impressive. If you've ever met him, he is a fireball of energy. And I will tell you, Josh, if you're listening, please take care of your health because you work so hard. And I just want you to be healthy. But I want to tell you, there's a couple of great candidates in that race. And when you go to the polls in the primary, what I'm asking you to do is, yes, vote for the candidate you believe in, but also vote for the candidate that you think can beat the Democrat, please.
You know what, Kerry, that's such a great point. And that was the first thing that Josh brought up when I asked him to separate himself from the Republican nominee from 2 years ago, which of course was Derek Barron, who challenged Marcy Kaptur and came close and lost. I said, separate yourself from Derek. And his immediate go-to was, it's really more about who can beat Marcy Kaptur. It's not like I'm trying to, take down Derek Barron. It's just that which person is best positioned to take down Marcy. It was exactly what he said. And that's exactly what we have to think about in your race too. We need to take vulnerable blue incumbents and get them out of Washington and replace them with conservative America First patriots. If we really want to hold on to, the republic, quite frankly, because it's in that much jeopardy.
Well, there's no doubt about that. And I think that to a large extent, that is the issue in the primary, the Republican primary in the Ohio's 13th district. And that is, who can articulate the issues? Who is the conservative, but who can take the street fight to Emilia Sykes and have a very solid chance to beat this career politician, this left-wing gadfly, this person that does exactly what the most radical leftists of the Democrats, the DSA, she does exactly what they want from her every single time. Who can beat that person in November? And that's why I have run what I believe has been a very strong campaign, and I believe we're going to win the primary handily, but we need your vote. We need it in the biggest way, because if we have low voter turnout, what happens in low voter turnout? Bad candidates win.
That's a fact. That's a fact. And there's going to be low voter turnout, unfortunately. It just seems to be the way of things in primaries like this. But also, Kerry, and speak to this. And by the way, for those who don't know, I talked to Care Coleman on this show literally the day he made his announcement back in January that he was going to make this run. And so it's only perfectly appropriate we talked to him the day before the actual votes tomorrow. You can keep Kerry up on the screen. Oh, he just dropped off. There he is. That we talked to him the day before people go and make their decision. It is going to be low voter turnout. It almost always is. But Kerry, speak to this from the standpoint of where we are right now, given the fact that gas prices are $5 a gallon. There are a lot of people, even conservative Republicans, who are frustrated and flustered by the cost of energy because of what's going on in Iran. I feel like people who might have been motivated to come out and vote for the right person to make sure that we have the right people facing the Democrats in November that are just not motivated now. They're a little bit ticked off. They're a little bit, anxious about their own personal budgets and so forth. So what can you say to people to convince them it is worth the time to get out there tomorrow and go and cast a vote in this important election?
Well, I will put it to you this way. There is a situation with the Iran war that none of us particularly like right now. We don't like the circumstances of high gasoline. I don't know if you're like me. You go to the gas pump and all of a sudden, what? It was $30. Now it's $60 to fill up. It's tough, and it bites us a little bit. What I would say is, I am hoping, like so many of the rest of you, that this conflict comes to a speedy resolution, okay? And when that happens, we see a stabilization of energy prices and supply across this world like we've never seen before. That is the hope, that is the promise. And the other thing about my candidacy and about me as somebody running in a race I've never run before. Let me tell you this. I did not ever promise for all of my, what I consider very prestigious, and I'm humbled by the great endorsements that I've gotten from everybody. I did not pay for any of those endorsements, and I did not promise anybody any special interest, anything for those. I got endorsed because I'm a strong conservative Christian that will take those values to Washington and support those values of family and home and lower taxes right here in our community. So to say that I am in any way, shape, or form aligned with any political group is not really true, because on that level, I support the people of my district. And, Bob, I've used this, and I do this for a little bit of humor. What's better than being a congressman? Owning one. and I tell the people of the district, I said, guess what? You get to own me. You vote for me. You talk to me. You plug into me. You have ownership of this candidacy, not some political radical party or group in that party or big money interest, you get to own me. So guess what? I have to do the hard work for you.
I love that. That's a great message. Let's talk about your district. Let's talk about Summit and Portage primarily, and talk about the most important issues there. What have you, over the course of your campaign in the last 4 months, what have you learned from the voters there that are the most important priorities that you have to go to Washington, D.C. to represent?
There's no doubt about it. Taxation is one of the most burdensome things to Ohio and the district. Okay. Everybody says, you got to give me a break on taxes. Emilia Sykes voted to essentially to block no tax on tips, overtime, Social Security. She will vote and has voted. Her Freedom Index, you know, the freedomindex.org. I know you're familiar with it, okay? And if you have never looked at that, and I run into a lot of people, they don't know exactly what I'm talking about, freedomindex.org, okay? You go there and you look on constitutional, regulatory, taxation issues, those things about the quality of life based on those constitutional principles in this country. Emilia Sykes in the 118th Congress and 119th Congress up through 25, the year 2025, has a 0%. Zero. Now, listen, you know as well as I do, when you go to Washington and you vote on a bill, and initially that bill looks pretty good. You say, wow, okay, we're going to do this, we're going to do that. Then they add all these things on there, okay? And then the bill hardly looks like its original intent. So to get 100% on the Freedom Index, I think we would say is near impossible. But to get a 0% is inconceivable. And that's Emilia Sykes. So people are worried. They are worried about their public safety, okay? Emilia Sykes is soft on crime. She does not like a good, strong defense for the people, and that would be public safety. She doesn't like that very much at all. She also voted to keep the kill switch in your car. A little bit more control of government than I want, okay? She has also supported, people are tired. They're worn out with this idea of e-check, okay? I've been fighting in Washington, as well as Bill Romer, wonderful state representative. I wish he could serve another, a couple of terms, but he's term limited and he's fantastic. And I know we haven't seen the end of him. He's a wonderful man. He's been fighting overtime against e-check.
Yes, he has.
Emilia Sykes supports e-check. Okay, a resolution in the State House when she was there, she voted to keep e-check. This woman campaigns as a moderate and every single step of the way votes against the people of the 13th district.
Yeah, well, that 0% score you just talked about, that's quite an achievement. If you can get a 0 on the Freedom Index, you are trying really, really hard to be just about as radical as you can be. So it's important to note that. Carrie, I don't know where things stand with respect to the primary. I'm glad you're focusing on Emilia, as we just said, and Josh is focused on Marcy. I get that, but you do have to win this thing tomorrow. What does your polling look like, or what are your folks on the ground telling you about where things stand with respect to the primary race?
I'll tell you this, and Bob, you have done incredible work over the years through your radio, your podcast. Okay, and when I went on the radio all those years, I said to myself, I want to motivate people to get out and vote. Okay, but I want more than that. I've said over the years, I love you because you're a patriot. I love you because you love this country, okay? But I think and I know right now, that's not good enough. You have to do something now across this country to save this country, because we are under attack by the radical left. So you ask, what am I seeing out there? Knocking on doors over the last few weeks, and certainly this past weekend, and man, it was cold. It was spitting snow, and my hand was like an iceberg. I couldn't wait to shake somebody's hand just to warm up my hand a little bit. But it was unbelievable. Bob, I saw person after person, lovely ladies and gentlemen, And every time I'd show up at a door, they say, "You're Care Coleman. I listen to you on the radio, and I want to tell you, I miss you on the radio, but I'm going to get out and vote. I'm going to do this thing, and we're going to get behind you." I am humbled. I am humbled by the grassroots support, and it was years in the making. It didn't happen overnight, but it was years in the making. Doing some of the work that you've done, and you have done a yeoman's job of trying to make activists out of patriots. Okay, getting people to do something, and that has been my mantra all along. Thank you for being a patriot. Thank you for loving your country, but now that's not good enough. You got to do something. And voting is the bare bones minimum.
100%. People don't seem to understand that, unfortunately. Again, if we're just looking at expected turnouts in this thing, they don't get. That's why the first item on my list of 5 things to do this week on my newsletter that I put out every Sunday yesterday was do your duty. Go out there and understand that, some people say, oh, this doesn't matter. What really matters in November. This is November. I mean, seriously, if we don't make the right choices now, November will it's a fait accompli. We're not gonna even have a chance if we don't make sure that we do the strong work now, the vetting now. We've got to make sure the best people to defeat the Democrats are elected tomorrow. So people need to understand that means, a little bit of inconvenience. If you didn't already early vote, you're going to have to find some time either before work or on lunch break or after work, but you've got to do this. It is our duty. If we send the wrong people to the Democrats, it's sending, the lambs to the slaughter. We cannot do that. We've got to send fighters into November, not weak people.
I will tell you, Bob, every single vote in this primary for me, Care Coleman, running for U.S. Congress against Emilia Sykes. I've never campaigned against my fellow Republicans out there. I appreciate them. I happen to like them, and I wish them well. But every single vote for me, okay, as we tally those numbers up in the primary tomorrow, every single vote sends a message to the rest of the country. This is a viable candidate. This is somebody that deserves the money that we can contribute to the campaign to take the fight to Emilia Sykes, because we know the reality. These congressional races take a lot of money. So your vote counts heavily towards showing that momentum tomorrow.
That's very well said, Gary. And the last thing I'll ask you about this again, we're talking about a very, very difficult district to win, no matter who you are, just simply because of its history and its makeup. You have a name recognition that some other people just don't have. The fact that you have been on radio, the fact that you have been on television, people know you, people trust you, you've got a voice. Might that be the tipping point? And I hope people consider that tomorrow, that when it comes to time to take on Emilia Sykes, you're talking about a legacy figure there with a family. I think you called her a left-wing gadfly and a career politician and from a political family. All of those things are true. It's going to take somebody with a name and with a trusted voice, perhaps, to kind of put a dent in that, that legacy type of candidate that she is, or legacy incumbent that she is. How important is that?
Well, I think it is important, Bob. And I will tell you, I haven't taken my public persona for granted one bit. I consider it a blessing, and I consider carrying the torch for these conservative issues over the years an honor, to say the least. It may be the thing that is the tipping point, as you say, but I will tell you this, even among liberals, and I do consider a difference between a leftist and a liberal. There are some liberals out there that have actually, they love their country, okay, and they love their families. They happen to think a little differently on fiscal things and a few other things than some of us, what we consider conservatives. But on the other hand, they feel so disenfranchised by the radical takeover of the Democrat Party. And many of those people, and I've heard them on the radio in recent years, they say, something's got to change. I can't vote Democrat anymore. And by the way, when you're out there knocking on doors, and I think you know this phenomenon, when you see an American flag flying in the yard, you know damn good and well that that is not a Democrat. And shame on you, folks. You can't even be proud of your country I am fighting right now for your rights, even if you're a Democrat, even if you're a liberal. I'm fighting for your rights as well as my rights and everybody's rights. Because if your party won, none of us are going to have any of those rights going forward. They want to pack the court. They want mail-in voting. They want non-Americans voting. They don't want voter ID. Emilia Sykes voted against the Save America Act. Do you think we're ever going to have free and fair elections if the Democrats get control? We're never going to have another fair election in this country. I am fighting for everybody's rights, and that even means you if you're a Democrat.
You know what, Kerry, that's a really important thing that you just said. And you know, many Democrats, I think, you know, your characterization of liberals versus leftists is really, really important. And I think many Democrats do understand that. Not all of them, maybe not a majority of them, but enough of them. And I'm so glad to hear you hammer that point home. They know that they cannot continue, things cannot continue as they are in that party. Radicalism is its name now. So and I'm so glad you are running in this race, and I'm so glad that you are kind of, you know, crystallizing, I guess, the differences between the two. We can be Americans. I can tell you this: in 2024, in September, October, you know, leading up to while the weather was still good enough to bike ride, that's my exercise. I biked through all of the neighborhoods and all of the surrounding communities in which near where I live, and I started to notice things. And I actually turned on my phone when I was going by these things and charting the number of homes that had yard signs with Kamala Harris or other Democrats in it, and the connection between those and the flags. And I was astounded, and I kind of reported on it from just my little bike rides. Not a single Democrat sign was matched by a flag in their yards. I would see flags, and I would either see Trump signs, because again, this is going into 2024's election. I would either see Trump signs and flags or just flags. And I knew, and I literally was making the commentary as I rode. You know, I said, you know where the Trump voters are. You know where the conservatives are. Sad to say this, but leftists, again, difference between leftists and liberals that you explained correctly, leftists don't like this country. They won't fly that flag. They're ashamed of that flag. They're embarrassed by that flag. They don't believe in what it represents. And that's why they do what they do. And it's why they make the decisions that they do. So it's extraordinarily important that people recognize here, we're talking about patriotism. We're talking about love of country, and conservatives, and generally speaking, conservative Republicans and liberals, classical liberals, but not leftists, we love this country. And that's why it's so important to get those that don't out of office, not representing we the people. And I'll give you the last word, Kerry.
Well, I will appreciate your vote tomorrow. You got to get out and vote. You help as many people get to the polls as possible. And I will tell you, and I don't mean this egotistically, Bob, but I believe that of the field of Republican candidates, that I'm the only one that can beat Emilia Sykes in November. I am a strong, articulate person that's not afraid of a street fight with those conservative values, but I believe in the Constitution, I believe in our country, and I believe in the 13th district. And when you vote for me, you're going to put me in the saddle to fight Emilia Sykes with everything I've got. I need your support, and I need you to help me all the way to November to beat Emilia Sykes, because she is a phony, fraud, and a liar. She campaigns as a moderate. She is anything but. She's controlled by the radical left, and she will vote against you every single time in Congress.
Care Coleman, you are the voice that I think we need to maybe finally take this district back for the people and give somebody who's actually going to represent their best interest and not special interest, and particularly not radicalism, which is what Emilia Sykes does. So I'm so glad you're there. Thank you for taking on this monumental challenge. I wish you the very best tomorrow. And then, of course, we will have plenty of conversations between tomorrow and the November election. Kerry, thank you so much.
So much. Thank you so much, Bob, and all the work you do. And great show, by the way. And well, can you clue me in? How you doing on the podcast?
We're doing great. This basically the start of May was started our 5th month. So we're 4 months in. We have seen a lot of really, really great growth. We've gotten a lot of sponsors coming on board now to support us as well. And obviously we tell people all the time, if you like what you see, share it with other people. Kind of like the same grassroots that you need, activists to go out there and win this campaign. We need grassroots people to go out there and share the message about a program like this and the content that we're delivering, that we're here, so that then the algorithm can kick in and really push it out to people who have never heard of us before. So we're kind of in the same boat in that regard. We're trying to build and grow at the grassroots level. So thank you.
All right, Bob, can I say one more thing?
Yeah.
CareColeman.com.
There you go. CareColeman.com. That is a place to support Carrie and Carrie, we're going to need to support you for the next 6 months in this fight against the Democrats. Thank you, Carrie. All right, that's Care Coleman, and I've been very, very interested in the chat that's going on. I apologize, I can't read the chats when I'm doing interviews with people like Josh and Carrie, obviously, but I did see that there were some more trolls in there. I was doing my best while also conducting your interview to boot those people out. It's sad that they have so little time in their lives, or rather so little to do in their lives, I should say, that they have time to just get into shows like this and try to troll the chats. Hey, listen, I want to remind you of something, and that is my friend Mark. Mark's daughter had a phenomenal weekend, as I understand it, of performances at this Christian ballet performance. This group that she put together did just not ballet, but dance recitals that were done on Friday and Saturday. I was so happy to tell you about that on Friday's show. Mark and his family are just such wonderful people, so congratulations to them. But I want to tell you about Mark because of what Mark does. Mark keeps Medicare, which is complex, simple, which is what you need it to be. All right. For nearly 40 years, Mark has been navigating the Medicare waters, trying to help seniors who are of Medicare age figure out exactly what is the best plan for them. Which one is the best plan for the money? What are the costs, lowest costs? What are the benefits, most benefits that you can get in Medicare? It's hard to figure out, hard to understand the differences between Part A and Part B. What is Part D? What happened to Part C? All of those things can be complex. Mark can make it easy for you. If you're aging into Medicare this year, you want to talk to Mark ahead of time. And if you're already in Medicare, find out if you're in the right plan so that the next opportunity to change that plan into a better one, you will be ready to do it. All right, go to keepingmedicaresimple.com, as you can see on the screen, and then call Mark for an appointment at 440-832-8936. Guess what? That appointment, free, because Mark doesn't charge you for services at all. 440-832-8936. Keep Medicare simple. Make it. Kill the complexity of it, I guess is what I'm trying to say. Make it easy on yourself. Call Mark King, keepingmedicaresimple.com. Mark is, of course, a foundational sponsor of Strictly Speaking Unfiltered. So, Mark, thank you, and God bless. All right, thanks to Josh Williams. Thanks to Care Coleman. Thanks to all the chatters. Thanks to Dylan running the behind-the-scenes stuff for us today. And tomorrow's the day. If you are not yet receiving my newsletter, I just looked at it again. Number one on the 5 things to do this week is do your duty. And that means go out there tomorrow and choose the right conservative to run against the Democrats in November. All right. That means get out there tomorrow and vote for Vivek Ramaswamy. Get out there and vote for Marcel Sturbridge. Get out there and vote for people like Stephanie Stock. Go out there and vote for people like Josh Williams and Care Coleman. Make sure that we send the right fighters to the battle against the Democrats in November. All right, everybody. Thank you once again. Be well, be safe, stay free, go vote tomorrow, and we'll see you then. Have a great day. Bye-bye.